What is up, everybody? It is JT Sports. I am back to you guys with another video, and I'm here with my Denver Broncos 2021 record prediction. Going to be giving you guys my best case scenario, my worst case scenario, and my overall record prediction for the Denver Broncos this upcoming season. Now, this is the last record prediction that I have for the AFC. You guys make sure to click the playlist up above. It will take you to all of my record predictions that I've done for all 32 teams. Make sure that you guys go ahead and check those out. Also, make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications so you don't miss when I upload a new video. I'm going to be throwing out a lot of great off-season content, training camp previews. I'm going to be previewing preseason games, players to watch, things to watch, all that good stuff. And most importantly, make sure that you help a brother out. Hit that like button. That like button is really important because when you hit that like button, you help the channel rank higher in the YouTube search algorithm. If the channel ranks higher in the YouTube search algorithm, then the channel gets more views and the channel grows. So make sure that you guys hit that like button. It takes less than a second to do. And plus, it's a free way to help support the channel. The Denver Broncos last year went 5-11. They were in last place in the AFC West. Now, I think the Broncos have the most potential out of any team in the NFL this year, because this is a team that is a playoff caliber football team. Courtland Sutton is coming back fully healthy. Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. You have a lot of talent at wide receiver. You got Noah Fant at tight end. You have a really good offensive line. You got a really stable group of halfbacks. Your defense is going to be really good. You got Von Miller coming back fully healthy. Like, the Broncos have all the makings of being a playoff team. But JT, you say the Broncos are a playoff team in a really odd tone. Like, you don't say it with a lot of confidence. The reason for that is because although the Broncos do have a playoff caliber roster, we don't know who's going to be playing quarterback. It's either going to be Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater. When you look at Drew Lock is the guy who, if you're a Broncos fan, you want to start because Drew Lock has more upside. And if you have to start Teddy Bridgewater, that pretty much means that you're going to be in the market for a new quarterback next offseason. Now, Drew Lock has been doing a lot of work with Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning has taken Drew Lock under his wing, and they've been watching a lot of film, doing a lot of work this offseason. So I'm interested in seeing if that work ends up paying off. Because if Drew Lock ends up being really good, then he's going to end up being really good. He has, Josh Allen kind of upside. And you look at the talent of this roster, there's no excuses for Drew Lock for why he can't get the job done this year. But on the other hand, you got Teddy Bridgewater, who is a guy who isn't going to win you a lot of games. He's not going to lose you in a lot of games. He doesn't throw the ball downfield, and he's not really good in game-winning scenarios like we saw in Carolina last year. Carolina was in a handful of one-possession games, and Teddy Bridgewater came up small in a lot of those games. So, Drew Lock, you're going to have the turnover issues, but you have a higher chance of having those big plays down the field. Meanwhile, Teddy Bridgewater, you're going to have a guy who's going to take what the defense gives him. You're not going to have a lot of those big plays unless you have a wide receiver break something after the catch. But you're going to have a guy who takes care of the football, which kind of fits what Vic Fangio's style of football is. He'd rather the offense just be good enough and rely on his defense to win the game. Now, my best case scenario for Denver is going to be 12-5. If this quarterback situation can get figured out, if Drew Lock is playing well, Teddy Bridgewater is playing well, then this team is going to the playoffs. They're winning 12 games, and they probably could be a threat to win this division. Without a doubt, if they can get solid play, not even great play, they can get solid, consistent play from quarterback this year, I think this team is easily going to make it into the playoffs, and you can write them in. That's a sure thing. Okay, like I said, this roster is already complete. Jerry Jeudy had a really solid rookie year, although he did struggle with drops. I think that's going to improve. If he can hang on to the football this year, he easily can be in the Pro Bowl. You also got Courtland Sutton, who missed pretty much all of last year due to a season-ending injury. He's coming back. Noah Fant, a solid off the line. There's a lot of talent here. A lot of talent. And then you got a Vic Fangio coach defense, which is going to be really good. You bring in Patrick Surtain. That's going to be a big bonus. Like, the Broncos have a really good roster. And if they can get consistent play out of the quarterback position, ideally, I think it's going to be Drew Lock. Because if Drew Lock ends up playing really well, then this Broncos team is going to be really good. And Drew Lock could be, the most improved player of the year. I think that Drew Lock has like Josh Allen kind of upset. He has a great arm. He has some mobility. The question is, can he lower the turnovers and can he just become a better overall QB this year? With Teddy Bridgewater, I think you probably still could win double-digit games, but I think your upside is higher with Drew Lock at QB than what it is with Teddy Bridgewater at QB. Now, my worst-case scenario for this team is 5-12. This team is either going to crash or burn depending on the quarterback position, because this is a division that is pretty tough. You got the Raiders, you got the Chargers, and you have the Chiefs. Now, this schedule isn't all that tough. So, for the Broncos, they have a pretty easy schedule. But despite that, you have Vic Fangio. Some people question if he is the right guy. He hasn't really done anything so far as the head coach for the Broncos. His defenses have been pretty good, but the team overall hasn't really had that much success. And the big reason for that was because Denver hasn't been able to figure out the quarterback position. Now, you're still handicapped, really, because you bring in Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock, but what if neither of those guys are good? What if Drew Lock ends up being a wash, and what if Teddy Bridgewater ends up being a wash? Well, then your season pretty much is going to be an entire loss, because, the defense is good, but this defense just simply cannot carry this team on a week in and week out basis, because if the offense cannot sustain drives and they can't move the ball down the field, and the defense is going to be on the field for more snaps, which means that the defense is going to tire out more quickly. So if they can't get good quarterback play, I think Denver's going to end up going 5-12, and they're probably going to end up picking really high in next year's draft. Now, before I get into my overall record prediction, I want to tell you guys about my two biggest swing games for the Denver Broncos this year. Swing games are games that I feel can define how the season would go for a certain team. For Denver, their two swing games for me are going to be week 1 against the New York Giants, on the road, and week 10 against Philadelphia. That Giants game is going to be really important because whoever's going to be starting at quarterback is going to have their work cut out for them, and we're going to get to see a good glimpse really early on how good the quarterback position, whoever's going to be starting, is going to be for Denver, because Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock are going to get tested, because that Giants defense is going to be really good. Patrick Graham is most likely going to end up being the NFL head coach next year if he ends up continuing the job that he did last year with this Giants defense. Now, you look at the Giants defense, this defense has also improved. So for the Broncos, rather they start Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater, if you're a Broncos fan, you're going to find out just how good your quarterbacks are really early this season, starting week 1. So if Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater play really well against the New York Giants, then you should be feeling pretty confident, because after you play the Giants, you have to play the Jaguars, the Jets, which are two games that you could potentially be favored to win. Then you got to play the Ravens, the Steelers, the Raiders, the Browns on a short week, Washington, Dallas. So the schedule gets kind of rough after that, okay? But then you have that week 10 matchup against Philadelphia, which is a game that you should win regardless of how bad or how good your quarterback position is, because I don't really think that Philadelphia is all that great. So you should be able to win that game. Then you have a bye week, week 11. And then after that bye week, you got to play the Chargers and the Chiefs. Then you have to play the Lions, the Bengals, the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Chiefs to close out the year. So for the Broncos, their schedule isn't all that difficult. But I think this team is going to go 6-11. That is going to be my prediction for the Denver Broncos this year. I don't really trust the quarterback position. There's not really a reason why you can sell me on Drew Lock. You can say, well, he had COVID, he had to learn a new offense and things like that. But Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow were rookies, and they had to learn new offense. As a matter of fact, they were learning the NFL game. These guys were rookies. And on top of that, Drew Lock had a better team than what those guys had last year. Joe Burrow didn't have as good as an offensive line that Denver has. And on top of that, Joe Mixon was injured for the majority of the year. Like, yeah, he had a solid group of wide receivers. But, I'm pretty sure Joe Burrow would prefer to have the offensive line in the run game that Drew Lock had, and Jerry Jeudy, who had a lot of drops and a great defense, than had the team that he had last year. Same thing can be said for Justin Herbert. And I don't really trust Teddy Bridgewater neither, because Teddy Bridgewater wasn't all that great for the Carolina Panthers. He started the season out last year pretty solid, but then he fizzled out down the stretch. Not a lot of big plays down the field, too many checkdowns, and he couldn't get it done in close games. So I got the Broncos going 6-11. You guys sound off down in the comment section down below what your record prediction is for the Denver Broncos this season. Make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure that you check out my NFL record prediction playlist up above. It will take you to all of my record predictions that I've done for all NFL teams. And thanks for watching, and take care.